AITA for cutting off my entire family after they tried to force me to give my inheritance to my half-sister? Hey everyone, this is going to be really long because there's a ton of backstory and I'm literally still shaking while typing this out. I'm 28F and I need to know if I'm the jerk here for basically going completely no contact with my mom, stepdad, and half-sister after what just happened with my grandma's will. So my biological dad died when I was 4 years old. It was a car accident, totally sudden, and it absolutely wrecked my mom. She was a mess for like 2 years. She met my stepdad Mike when I was 6, and they got married pretty quick after that, like less than a year of dating. Mike had a daughter from his previous marriage, Emily, who was 5 at the time. Then my mom and Mike had my half-brother Jake together when I was 9. Growing up things were okay at first I guess, normal blended family stuff, but as we all got older it became really clear that Emily could do absolutely no wrong in their eyes and I was always getting the short end of the stick. It wasn't super obvious when we were little but by the time I hit middle school the favoritism was completely insane. Emily got new clothes every season. I got hand-me-downs from cousins I barely knew. Emily wanted to take dance lessons. Signed up immediately. New leotards. Recital costumes. The whole thing. I wanted to join the robotics club at school and suddenly there was no money for it even though Mike had literally just bought a brand new truck the month before. My mom would always defend it by saying stuff like Emily's had it harder because her bio mom isn't around much, which wasn't even true because Emily's mom was flaky but she was still in the picture sometimes, showing up for birthdays and some holidays. My dad's side of the family tried really hard to stay involved in my life, especially my grandma, my dad's mom. She lived about 2 hours away and would drive to pick me up for weekends pretty regularly. She'd take me shopping for school clothes and supplies, buy me the things I actually needed, take me to movies and museums. She basically became my safe person growing up, the only adult I felt like actually saw me. Grandma told me multiple times as I got older that since my dad didn't have life insurance when he died and everything he had went to bills and funeral costs, she wanted to make sure I was taken care of later in life. She said she'd been putting money aside specifically for me. No one in my mom's house really knew the details about any of this, or at least they acted like they didn't know. Grandma passed away really suddenly last year from a massive stroke. It was right after I turned 27. The funeral was rough for a lot of reasons but one thing that stood out was my mom and Mike brought Emily and Jake and Emily kept crying louder than literally anyone else even though she'd met my grandma maybe 10 times total in her entire life. It felt performative and weird but I was too sad to call it out. The will reading happened about 2 weeks after the funeral. Grandma left some money to a couple of charities she cared about, a little bit to her sister, and then the bulk of her estate went to me. Her house which was completely paid off and worth about $350,000, her savings, her investment accounts, all of it to me. The total value came out to around $820,000 after everything was calculated and settled. There was also a letter that came with the will that the lawyer read out loud in front of everyone. My grandma had written that she was so proud of how I turned out despite what she called challenges in my home life. She said this inheritance was meant to give me the start that my father would have wanted me to have. And she specifically wrote that the money was not to be shared with my mother's household because this was from my father's side of the family and was meant only for me. My mom absolutely lost it right there in the lawyer's office, started yelling that this wasn't fair, that grandma had always favored me, that the money should be used to help the whole family because we were all the grandkids grandma knew. Mike completely backed her up saying family helps family and I was being selfish thinking only about myself. Emily just sat there crying saying she desperately needed money for college, which for context, Emily is 27, same age as me, and she's changed her major like 4 or 5 times and still hasn't graduated. The lawyer shut them down pretty quick, said the will was completely ironclad and there was basically no way to contest it because grandma had everything documented properly with witnesses and everything was filed correctly. I left that office feeling completely numb but also kind of relieved, like for the first time in my entire life something was just for me, something that was mine that they couldn't touch or take away or give to Emily instead. I didn't tell them any details after that day, just said I was handling everything with the lawyer and they didn't need to worry about it. Over the next several months I sold grandma's house because the market was really hot and I got a good price for it. I paid off my small amount of student loans. I put a down payment on a little condo for myself in a nice area closer to my job. And I invested the rest of the money with a financial advisor that grandma had actually recommended to me years ago. When I first started working, then about 4 months after the will was settled, my mom calls me absolutely sobbing, saying they were going to lose their house. Turns out Mike had taken out a second mortgage a few years back to help Emily pay off some credit card debts, and they were now really behind on payments. The bank was starting foreclosure proceedings. She begged me to help them, said if I just gave them $200,000 it would save everything and they could keep the house. I said no. I told her this money was what grandma specifically intended for my future and I wasn't giving it away. My mom completely lost it on me, called me ungrateful, said I owed them for raising me all those years. I hung up on her. That's when things really escalated. They started this family group chat and just completely blew up my phone. Emily was sending me these long messages about how I was destroying her little brother's life, that if they lost the house Jake would have nowhere to go during his college breaks. Mike started leaving me voicemails saying I was spitting on my dead father's memory by not helping family when they needed it. Even some aunts and uncles on my mom's side got involved saying blood is thicker than water and I needed to think about my siblings. The absolute breaking point happened about 2 months ago. I came home from work one day and there were moving boxes inside my condo. My mom had used the spare key I'd given her literally years ago for emergencies. She let herself in along with Mike, Emily, and Jake and they were actively packing up my stuff. They told me I was moving back home with them to help contribute to the family and that they were taking over my condo because it was bigger and nicer than the apartment they'd found after losing the house. I completely freaked out, called the police immediately. The cops came and made them leave and take all the boxes with them. I changed all my locks that same day and got a Ring camera installed on my door. Since then I've blocked pretty much all of them on everything. My mom still tries to contact me from new numbers she gets from friends or whatever. She sent me an email last week saying if I don't help them they're going to have to declare bankruptcy and it'll be my fault when Jake has to drop out of school because they can't afford it anymore. Emily has been posting vague stuff on Facebook about selfish people who forget where they came from and how family should stick together. I know it's about me even though she doesn't use my name. My uncle on my dad's side says I'm doing the right thing, that grandma would be really proud that I'm protecting what she worked hard to give me, but a couple of my friends have said that family is family and maybe I should just give them something smaller to keep the peace, that completely cutting them off seems extreme. But honestly, I'm just done with all of them. They never treated me like actual family when it would have benefited them to do so. Why should I treat them like family now just because they want my money? So AITA for keeping everything grandma left me and cutting them completely out of my life? Update 3 weeks later. I really didn't expect my original post to blow up the way it did. I got literally thousands of messages, some really supportive and kind, others calling me every horrible name you can imagine. Thank you to everyone who shared similar stories about their own families. It actually helped a lot knowing I'm not alone in dealing with this kind of crazy family dysfunction. A lot has happened in the past 3 weeks since I posted. First thing, I filed for a restraining order against my mom and Mike after the whole breaking into my condo thing. The judge granted a temporary one pretty quickly and the hearing for a permanent restraining order is scheduled for next month. Emily and Jake aren't on the order yet because they didn't directly threaten me or break in, but my lawyer said we can add them later if they start harassing me too. They lost the house. It finally went through foreclosure. My mom sent me actual photos of them moving into this really tiny 2-bedroom apartment across town. Jake has to sleep on the couch in the living room. She included this super long letter with the photos about how I'm tearing the family apart and how grandma would be so ashamed of me if she could see what I was doing. I didn't respond to any of it. But here's the craziest part. Emily showed up at my workplace. I do marketing for a mid-size company downtown and she somehow figured out where I work. She waited in the lobby until I came down to go get lunch. She immediately started crying and made this big scene saying she'd just found out she might have fertility issues and needed money for treatments. She said that as sisters we should be helping each other through hard times like this. I told her we're not sisters, we're barely even step-siblings at this point, and that she chose to rack up massive debt instead of finishing school or getting a real job. Building security ended up escorting her out while she was still crying and yelling. Then last week Mike called me from an unknown number. I answered because I didn't recognize it and thought it might be work-related. He tried to offer me this compromise, said if I gave them $400,000 they would sign some kind of legal document promising they'd never ask me for money again and would leave me alone forever, like he was literally trying to bargain away my inheritance. I recorded the entire call on my phone and sent it to my lawyer immediately. I'm starting therapy next week because the guilt does creep in sometimes, especially when I think about Jake. He's 19 and seems like a decent kid who just got caught in the middle of all this. He messaged me privately last week saying he doesn't blame me for any of this but wishes things were different. I sent him $500 for textbooks through Venmo but told him that's it, I'm not doing anything more. Some of my extended family on my mom's side have started calling me heartless, saying I'm letting my pride destroy the family. Whatever, I don't care anymore what they think. My uncle took me out to dinner a few nights ago and told me something I didn't know before. Apparently grandma had actually updated her will about 2 years before she died. She did it specifically because my mom had asked her for a big loan to help fund some business idea Emily had. The business completely flopped within 6 months. Grandma saw all the red flags about how my mom and Mike and Emily handled money, and that's when she made everything ironclad so they couldn't touch it. I'm feeling more at peace with my decision now, but I'm still on edge waiting for the next crazy thing they're going to try. Update 2 to 8 months later. So this is probably going to be my last post about all of this. It's been almost a full year since my grandma passed away, 8 months since my last update, and things have finally settled in ways I really didn't expect. Some of it's good, most of it is just final. The restraining order went permanent against my mom and Mike. The judge agreed there was a clear pattern of harassment and the breaking and entering incident was enough. Emily actually tried to crash my uncle's Christmas dinner a few months ago. He'd invited me specifically and didn't invite them. She showed up anyway and got turned away at the door. My uncle told her if she didn't leave he'd call the cops and have her arrested for trespassing. Jake moved out of their apartment and in with his girlfriend's family so he could finish school. From what little I hear through mutual acquaintances, he seems to be doing okay. He's taking classes at community college and working part-time at some retail place. Here's the part that's actually really hard for me to talk about. About 4 months ago, Emily reached out to me through a fake Instagram account. She sent me these long messages saying she was pregnant and it was a high-risk pregnancy that needed really expensive medical care. She sent me ultrasound pictures and everything. Said if I helped her just this one time with the medical bills she would disappear from my life forever and never contact me again. Something about the whole thing felt really off to me, so I reverse image searched the ultrasound photos she sent. They were stolen from some random mommy blog from like 3 years ago. When I called her out on it, she actually admitted the pregnancy was fake, said she needed to try something because they were getting desperate for money. That was the moment I truly understood there was absolutely no bottom to how low she would go. I blocked that account and every other way she could possibly contact me. My mom had some kind of mild heart episode about 2 months back, ended up in the hospital for a few days. The only reason I even know about it is because a cousin on my mom's side told me. Part of me wanted to reach out and check on her because she's still my mom, but then I remembered her letting herself into my home to literally try to steal it from me. I sent flowers to the hospital anonymously and that was it. I heard later she's fine now, still living in that cramped apartment. Mike works a ton of overtime to make ends meet. Emily bounces between random jobs. Jake actually reached out to me properly about a month ago. He's 20 now. He has a decent part-time job and seems to be getting his life together. He sent me this really sincere message apologizing for everything that went down, said he's had time to think about how they treated me growing up and he doesn't want to be part of that kind of behavior anymore. He said he's trying to be different from them. We're slowly talking now, nothing major, just occasional texts about his classes and how work is going, normal sibling stuff. I quietly paid for 1 semester of his community college tuition without telling anyone else in the family, not because I owe him anything or because I feel guilty, but because he's literally the only person in that entire family who ever actually said sorry and seems to genuinely mean it. I told him it's a one-time thing and boundaries are staying exactly where they are. He understood. As for me, I absolutely love my condo. I'm so glad I bought it. I traveled to Europe for the first time this past summer using some of the money Grandma left me. Saw all these places she used to talk about visiting with my dad before he died. It felt like she was there with me in a way. I started dating someone really nice about 5 months ago. He has absolutely zero clue about any of this family drama and I purposely kept it that way. He just knows my family and I aren't close and I don't talk to them. That's all he needs to know. Work has been going really well too. I got promoted to senior marketing manager in my department. The investments I made with that financial advisor are growing steadily. Therapy has helped me so much with the guilt I was carrying. Apparently survivor's guilt mixed with a lifetime of being the scapegoat child creates some real issues that take time to work through. Do I miss having a mom sometimes? Yeah, I miss the idea of having a mom, but the people who showed up trying to take everything from me the second they found out I had something worth taking proved what was actually real in those relationships. Grandma gave me a way out and I took it without looking back. Some people in the comments on my last post said I'd eventually regret not helping them. I don't regret it at all. Other people said I'd cave eventually and give them money. That didn't happen and it's never going to happen. My life is quiet now. For the first time in my entire life it feels like it's actually mine. I'm not living in anyone's shadow or waiting for the next time I get treated like I matter less than everyone else. Thanks to everyone who sent supportive messages back when I first posted. It really did help me feel less crazy during the worst parts of all this. This account is going dormant after this post. Final update 14 months later. I really wasn't planning to post again, but a bunch of people have been DMing asking what happened, so I figured I'd give one last update to close everything out. It's been over a year since Grandma died, 14 months total. The restraining order against my mom and Mike is still active. They haven't tried to violate it. I think they finally realized I'm serious and there are actual legal consequences if they keep harassing me. Emily moved out of state about 3 months ago. I only know because Jake mentioned it in passing. Apparently she got some job opportunity in another state and jumped on it to get a fresh start. Fine by me. The further away she is the better. My mom sent me one letter about 6 months ago. It came to my work address somehow. I don't know how she got it because I never told her where I work now. The letter was this whole thing about how she's sorry for how things turned out but she still thinks I made the wrong choice. That family should help family no matter what. That she hopes someday I'll see that she was just trying to protect everyone. I didn't respond. I gave the letter to my lawyer and he sent her a formal notice that any Further contact would result in legal action. She hasn't contacted me since. Mike apparently had to file for bankruptcy anyway. The debt from the second mortgage plus all of Emily's credit cards was too much. Jake told me they had to give up the new apartment and move somewhere even cheaper. He said his mom cries a lot but that Mike seems almost relieved the financial pressure is finally over. I have really mixed feelings about that. Part of me feels vindicated that they're dealing with consequences of their own bad choices. Part of me feels guilty that I could have helped and chose not to. Therapy has been huge for working through those conflicting feelings. My therapist keeps reminding me that their financial problems existed long before Grandma died and would have existed whether I helped them or not. Jake and I have actually developed a real relationship. We get coffee every few weeks and text pretty regularly. He graduated from community college last month with his associate's degree and got accepted to a state university for next year to finish his bachelor's. I'm helping him with application essays and stuff, but I made it clear I'm not paying for school. He said he understands and doesn't expect that. He got some scholarships and financial aid and he's going to work part-time. He told me something a few months ago that really stuck with me. He said watching everything that happened with the inheritance made him realize how toxic our family dynamics were, that he'd grown up thinking it was normal for parents to treat their kids differently based on whose biological kid they were. He said leaving that apartment and living with his girlfriend's family showed him what actual healthy family relationships look like. I've been seeing the guy I mentioned in my last update for over a year now. Things are getting pretty serious. He knows more about the family situation now because it came up naturally as we got closer. He's been incredibly supportive and doesn't push me to reconcile with anyone. His family has kind of adopted me in a way which is weird and nice. The money is still invested in growing. I haven't touched most of it except for normal expenses and that trip to Europe. My financial advisor says if I keep going the way I'm going I'll be able to retire early if I want to. That's wild to think about. I moved last month actually, sold the condo for a good profit and bought a small house in a neighborhood I really love. Jake helped me move some boxes which was kind of surreal in a good way. Having him there felt like I do have at least one actual family member who cares about me as a person and not for what I can give them. Do I think about my mom sometimes and wonder if I was too harsh? Yeah, sometimes I do, especially on Mother's Day or her birthday, but then I remember her face when she was packing up my condo to steal it. I remember her calling me ungrateful for not handing over hundreds of thousands of dollars. I remember years of being treated like I mattered less than Emily, and I know I made the right choice. I ran into my mom at a grocery store about 2 months ago. Total accident, just bad timing. We were both in the produce section. We made eye contact. She looked like she wanted to say something but I just turned and walked away. My heart was pounding the entire time I finished my shopping. I was worried she'd follow me out or wait by my car. She didn't. When I got home I just sat in my car for 20 minutes trying to calm down. That incident made me realize I'm still healing from all of this, probably will be for a long time, but I'm healing as myself in my own space without people demanding pieces of me I can't afford to give. Someone asked me in a message if Grandma would be happy with how things turned out. Honestly, I think about that a lot. I think she'd be sad that it came to this, that it couldn't have been handled differently, but I also think she'd be proud that I stood my ground and didn't let them bully me into giving away what she worked so hard to leave me. She knew what kind of people they were. That's why she made the will the way she did. I visited Grandma's grave a few weeks ago for the first time in months. I usually don't go that often because it's hard, but I wanted to tell her about the house and about Jake and about how I'm doing. I know she can't hear me obviously, but it felt good to talk to her anyway. I told her thank you for seeing me when no one else did. So that's really it. Final update. Life has moved on. Some relationships are permanently broken and that's okay. Some new relationships have formed that I never expected. I'm building a life that's mine on my own terms. The money Grandma left me gave me the freedom to do that. For anyone reading this who's dealing with family members demanding money or trying to guilt you into giving up something that's yours, I'll say this. You don't owe anyone your financial security just because you share DNA. Family is supposed to build you up, not tear you down to benefit themselves. If they only show up when you have something they want, they're not family. They're just people who happen to be related to you. Grandma taught me that through her actions even though she's gone. I wish I could thank her one more time for that. This account is done now. Thanks for following my story. I hope everyone dealing with their own family stuff finds peace however that looks for them.